Well, one of the pieces of research we did was looking at how 12 countries' media covered the Copenhagen summit last December. And we looked at volume of coverage and issues around how much science got covered in the media. The interesting thing from a Latin American perspective is that Brazil had by far the most coverage of any of the 12 countries in that study, and India was second. So the view that somehow developed countries monopolise coverage and it's only a topic for developed countries in the West is not there. One of the real issues that came out was how much the media cover the actual science of climate change when they were covering the summit. In other words, how much context are the readers and the viewers getting? And there the media didn't do quite so well. Something like 80% of the articles only had 10% which gave the context of the science, and only 10% of the articles were about science. So we felt that was an indication that the media often find reporting the science very difficult and challenging. And that's very like a whole lot of other really important issues of the 21st century, like biodiversity, like sustainability, really significant issues that don't lend themselves to a very attractive and entertaining treatment. So we were looking at sort of various suggestions about what the media might do to make that more interesting. And a couple of the points I would make is, one of them is that often the environment and climate change is ghettoized. It's a green issue, it's the environment correspondents that cover it, when of course it's a health issue, it's a social issue, it's an economic issue, it's a business issue, it's a technology issue. And what we were trying to say that journalists should try and get out of that green ghetto, and people might relate to it more. The other thing is, how on earth do you make these really complicated issues relevant and interesting, not just to elites like the people here, but to a general audience. And the final point I would make is that a lot of the coverage of issues like sustainability and climate change are all doom and gloom. So it's like, you know, terrible ocean acidification, terrible global warming on the way, desertification, sea level rises. That's essentially a very, very negative message. And a lot of research has been done, particularly in the States and the UK, about how people react to those sort of messages. And on the whole, it doesn't promote behavioural change. It sort of promotes fear, apathy, rejection, blame somebody else. So again, what we were arguing is that actually the media, and indeed social organisations, NGOs like the ones here, have to think of a very positive message as well as the doom and gloom. Researchers on climate change and sustainability issues. Well, I think yes, you know, of course they have to do the science, but let's take the example of the IPCC report, the impact report that was so seminal in 2007. We've also done studies showing that it got massive more coverage, all the negative impacts that were on the way, particularly for Latin America, than the more positive mitigation or what you can do about it. So I think for organisations that are working on climate change and sustainability, you've constantly got to think of a positive message that just doesn't leave people despairing. And I'll give you one example of that. We interviewed at the BBC Lord Stern, Nick Stern, who wrote the very famous 2006 Stern reports, and I was very impressed by the way he framed his discussion with us. His top line was, climate change offers huge opportunities for Latin America. Latin America has fantastic capacities for wind power, solar power, hydroelectricity, hydrofuels. It's got a very strong science and technological base, and if Latin America can take advantage of all those opportunities, actually climate change doesn't have to be this dreadful thing that's coming around the corner. Even though it's very vulnerable, there are tremendous opportunities there. And I think if you frame it like that, the media, and that's how certainly we framed it, will pick up on it.